Welcome back to snippetcoder, and we are back with another video. In this video we are going to design this beautiful UI, and we will integrate this UI with the WordPress login, and from here we can have all the validation also. If I click on the login, we are getting here validations, and if we enter the password here, so here we will enter the username and here we will enter the password. So from here also we can see the password or disable the password. And suppose if we enter the wrong password, we will get the validation here, invalid username password. And if we enter the correct password, we will move to the home page, and from here we have land to the dashboard page. And whenever we reopen the application, we will authenticate it on the basis of the token we have saved in our storage. And when we click logout button, and we will move to the login page. So before starting the video, if you are new to our channel, subscribe the channel by clicking on the subscribe button and click the bell icon to get notified of our latest videos. Thank you. So first of all, we have to install one plugin in the WordPress, and we have to go to the WP admin panel, and from there we will go to the plugin section, and there we will click on the add new. So in the search plugin, we have to find one plugin name. The name of the plugin is JWT Auth. So this is the plugin. So after installing the plugin, we have to do some modification in the WP config file also. We have to add this line. We will go to our WordPress folder. So if you are doing the local development, you can go to the path where that folder has been set up. Else you can go to the server, that WordPress folder, and you can do the modification from there also. So from here we will open the file, that is wp-config.php file, and we will open it. So here we will add one line here, define JWT underscore auth underscore secret underscore key, and here we will pass the key, and the key can be any random key we can create. So suppose we are getting the key here, test auth key. So this can be a random key, so we can add it. Now we will test the API, is it working or not. And here we are using one plugin in the VSCode, that is HTTP request client, and here we will pass post request, and here we will have the URL. Here the name of the application, news app slash wp-json slash jwt-auth slash v1 slash token, and here we will pass http slash 1.1. Now here we have to pass the content type. Content type we are using here application slash x hyphen www hyphen form hyphen URL encoded, and here we will pass the body here, and we will pass here username is equal to snippetcoder. Then we have the password here, and the password we are using here coder xyz987. So now we will execute this command, and we will click on the send request. So here you can see we are getting the data here, and we are getting the JSON, that is success is true, status code we are getting here 200. Then we are getting a code message, credential is valid. Then we are getting the data, that is very important, and this data will be used for the further operation in the WordPress operations. And here we are getting a token that we will store in our local storage. And then we are getting here ID, then we are getting here email ID, then we are getting here the nice name, first name and last name is empty, that is not in our database, enter. Then we are getting here display name. So now suppose if I enter that invalid password here, and if I click on a send request, now you can see here the success we are getting here false, status code we are getting 403. In the code we are getting here incorrect password, and the message we are getting here password you entered for the username snippet code is incorrect. lost your password, then in the data we are getting the empty. So now we will move to our Flutter application to design our UI part. Then we will move through the integration of the WordPress with our Flutter application. So now we will design the UI, and before starting the UI designing, we have to create some wrapper file here. So here we will create one folder name, that is utils. Inside that we will create one file here, form_helper dot file, and here we will create one class here, form helper, and here we will create one method, static type of visit input field visit. We have to pass some parameters here. First one is a build context, then we have an icon here, then we have a key name, then we have the label name here, and then we have the function here for the validations on validate, then we have the function for on save, then we have the optional parameter also. First one in the initial value, then we have the obscure text, and we are taking it as a false here. And then we have the visit for suffix icon, here we will return the container, and padding we are using here agenset dot only, and we are using here for left 20, and for the right we are using here 20. And then we have the child here, and for the child we have to create the visit for text form field, and here we will map the variables with the parameter. First one is the initial value, and we will map it with the initial value from our parameter. And then we have the key here, and key also we are mapping with the key name. Then we have the obscure text, and we are passing here that parameter. And then we have the validator here, and we will return here font validate, and we will pass here the value. And then we have the on saved here, and that also we will return here on saved, and we will pass the value here. And then we are using a style here, and the text style font we are using here, font size 18. Then we have to pass the decoration part here, and we are using here input decoration, and here we will have hint style, and we are using here text style, font weight we are using here font weight dot bold. Then we have the font size here, and we are using here 15. And then we have the hint text, and we are mapping it with the label name. And then we have to enable the borders here, and we will pass here enable border, and here we are using outline input border, and here we are using the border radius, and we are using here border radius dot circular, and we are passing here 30. Then we have the border side here, and we are using here border side, and the color we are using here theme of context dot primary color. that we will define our main.dart file. And then we have the width here, and we are using a 1. So now we will pass a border here. And the enable border is when we have the focus in the text box. And then we have the outlined input border. And we will pass here border radius. And we are using a same border radius dot circular 30. On the border side also we are using the same, and we will copy paste here. And then we have to pass here suffix icon, and this icon we will use for basically for showing the password or hiding a password. Suffix icon. Then we have the prefix icon, and here we are using the padding here, and the padding we are using here agent set dot only, and we are using for the left 30 and for the right 10. Then we have the child here, and we are using an icon theme, and here we will pass data, and inside the data we are passing here icon theme data. The color we are using here theme of context dot primary color. And then we have the child here, and we are passing here icon. So this one is ready. So now let's create the page over there, and we will create the folder here, pages, and here we will create login underscore page.dart file, and we will make it as a stateful visit login page. So here we will import the material file, and here we have to define some variable here, final underscore scaffold key is equal to global key scaffold state, and here we are having a global form key form state global form key is equal to global key form state. And then we will have one variable of string type of username, string type of password, and here we will create one visit here, login UI, and here we will pass build context. So from here we will return new single child scroll view. So here we will modify our main.dart file, and we will have here void main, and we will return here, and from here run app my app, and here we will create stateless visit my app, and from here we will return material app, and here we have the title here, WordPress login. Then we will disable that debug flag. And then here we have to pass a theme. The theme data we are using here brightness dot light, and we are using here primary color, and we are using here colors dot accent red accent. And then we have the accent color here, and we are using here colors dot cyan 600. And then we will pass here home, and here we have to pass the login page. Now let's run the application. So here you can see that black page is coming, and from here we have to pass container and a child. Here we are passing here text and we are passing a dummy text. So now we are getting that page running here. So now we will design our UI here, and from here we will return new safe area. And safe area widget we are using because if we are not using any safe area, the content of the page will be touched to the status bar. So for that reason we have to use the safe area. And then here we have the child here, and we are using a scaffold widget. Then here we have the background here, and we are using here colors.gray color, and we are using it 200. Now you can see here that background is not touching to the status bar, and here we have to assign the key here, scaffold key. And then we have that login UI here, and the child we are passing here. In the body we are passing here login UI. So here in the login UI we have to pass the child here, and we are using a new container. Then in the child we are using a new form, and we have to pass the key here, and we are using a global form key. And then we have the child here, and we have to create one more widget here, and we will rename it to login UI setup. And here we will change the name, and here we will create new widget login UI, and we will map it here. And here also we have to pass the build context. Now we are getting error here, and we have to return some data here, and we will return here column widget. And here we are using main axis alignment, and we are using a main axis alignment dot start. And then we have the cross axis alignment, and we are using a cross axis alignment dot start. And then we have to pass the children's here, and here we will create one container here, and here the width we are using here media query dot of context dot size dot width. And then we have the height here, and we are using here media query dot of context dot size dot height, and we will divide it by 3.5. So we have to use this portion for that logo displaying with the you can say for that background of red. That's why we have to divide some height so that it will not cover the full page. So here we have to do the decoration part, and we are using a box decoration. And then we are using a gradient here, and we are using a linear gradient. And the begin we are passing a alignment dot top center, and for the end we are using a alignment dot bottom center. And then we have to pass the colors here, and we are using a colors dot red accent, colors dot red accent. So we are using the same color here. So now you can see here that background is coming. So from here we have to pass that border radius so that we can design the background according to our UI. And then we have the border radius here, and we are using a border radius dot only, and we are using a bottom left radius dot circular, and we are using here 150. So now you can see here that cut edge is coming here from the left side. So for the child here we have to pass here, and for the child here we are using column widget, and we have to pass here main axis alignment, and we are using here main axis alignment dot center. Then we have the children's here. And first one we are using a spacer, and we will give some space here. From the top we will give some space, and in the center we will have the alignment here, align visit, and we are using here alignment. We are using here alignment dot center. Then we have the child here, and here we will display the image of the logo of snippetcoder, and we are picking from the network image.network, and we have to pass the URL here. So this is the URL we are using here. And then we will pass here fit, and we are using here box fit dot contain. Then we have the width here, and we are using a 140. Now if I save the application, now you can see here logo is coming, but that logo is touching to the bottom, and here we have to pass another spacer, and now you can see here logo is in the center. And suppose if I remove the first spacer here, now you can see here that logo is touching to the top. So for doing that we have to have some spacer in the top and in the bottom also. Now we will put here label here, and we are using a center visit here, and the child we are using a padding, and padding we are using here as inset dot only, and we are using only for the bottom 20, and the top we are using here 40. And here we have the child here, and in the child we are using a text widget, and we are passing here text login. And then we have the style here, and we are using here text style. Font weight we are using here font weight dot bold, and we have the font size here, and we are using here 25. So now you can see here the label is also coming. Now we will start adding that control here for the username and the password, and here we are using a padding, and the padding we are using here as inset dot only, and for the bottom we are using here 20, top we are using here 20. Then we have the child here, and here is the important part. So now here we use that utility which we have created for the form helper. So now we will pass here form helper dot input visit. So for the icon we are using here icon, we are passing here icons dot verified user. You can use any icon here, I am just using this icon. And then we have the key name here, and we are passing here username. And then we have the label here, and we are passing here username, and we have the validate function here, and then we have the save function here. We will pass here on validate value, and here we will pass on saved value. So now if I click on the save, now you can see here text box is coming, and the same text box we have to do for the password also, and we will just copy paste this code and we will paste here. And from here we will remove this top, because already we are using a bottom 20, so there is no need to use that top here. And here we are changing the icon, and we are using a lock icon. And then we have to change the key name here, and we are using a password. In the username also we have to change it to password, and here we will save it. So now you can see here both the text boxes coming. So now we have to add the button here. For that also we will use the form helper here, and we will create one function here, and here we will create static visit save button, and here we are passing button text, and here we will pass function on tap, and here we will return container, and the height we are using here 50, and the width we are using here 150. And then we have the child here, and we are using here gesture detector for having that on tap function working, and here we will pass on tap, and here we will pass here on tap. Then here in the child, we'll create one container here. And then we have the decoration part here. And we are using a box decoration. And the border we are using here border.all. And we are passing a color, colors.white color. For the border we are using a white color. And then we have the style here, and we are using a border style dot solid. And then we have the width here, and we are using a 1.0. And then we have to pass the color here, and we are using a colors dot radiant. Then we have the border radius here, and we are using a border radius dot circular 30.0. Then here we have to pass the child here, and we are using a row visit. And main axis alignment we are using here main axis alignment dot center. Then here inside the children's we have center visit. And then we have the child here, and we are using a text visit. And here we have the passing button text. And then we have the style here, and we are using a text style. And then we have the color here, and we are using a colors dot white color for the text. We have the font size, and we are using a 1.6. Then we are using a font weight, and we are using a font weight dot W600. And then we have the letter spacing here, and we are using 1 here. Now the function is ready, and we will use this visit in our login page. Here we are using the size box, and this is used for the spacing after the text box. And we are passing a height, and the height we are using at 20. Then we are passing a new center visit, and we are passing a child, and we are using a form helper dot save button. The text we are using a login, and here we will have the font type function. So now here you can see button is also coming. Now we have to make this button workable, and here we will create one function here, bool type of validate and save final form is equal to global form key dot current state. And here we will check if the form dot validate. Then we will call here form dot save, and we will return here true. By default we are passing here false. So now here we have to pass the validation here, and we will check here if the on validate value is empty. Then we will return here username can't be empty, and by default we will return here null. And same we will do for the password also. We will check here if on validate well, and we will return here password can't be empty, and here we will return null. So here in the save button we will call this function if validate and save. Now if I click here in the login button, you can see here that we are getting the validation message here, but not for the password here. So here we have to pass here dot is empty. Now it will give us the message here. So now if we are not passing any value, we are getting the validation message here. So now we will complete our password field, and we have to do some more modification here. And here we will create one variable here, boolean type of hide password is equal to true. By default we will make the password hide. So now here we will pass here initial value empty, and then we have the obscure text and we are passing here hide password. Then we have the suffix icon and we are using here icon button, and here we have the on press event, and we will create here and we will use set state hide password is equal to not of hide password. Then we have the color here and we are using here colors dot red accent dot with opacity 0.4. Then we have the icon here, and icon we have to change according to the obscure text. We will check here hide password, and then we will pass here icons dot visibility of else icons dot visibility. So now here you can see here we are getting the icon here. So if I put the password here, we are not able to see the password here. If I click here, we are able to see the password here. If I again click here, the password has been hidden. So one more step we have to do, and then our UI will be completed. So here in the on saved value, and we have to assign the value here. Username is equal to on saved value dot toString dot trim, and same we will do here also. pwd is equal to on saved value toString dot trim, and here in the validation save, if it is there is no validation error, we will display these values in the console. Print username print password pwd. So now here if I click the button, you can see here we are getting the validation error. Now if I enter here snippetcoder, the password I am not entering, so that validation error from that username has been gone, and validation error is shown in the password field. So now if I put the password here, if I click here on the login, so you can see here we are getting username and password both. So if I change the password, you can see here we are getting the updated password here. So now we will do our last step to integrate this UI with our work. So first of all, we will create our model file, and here we will create a folder, that is model folder, and we will create one file here login underscore model dot file, and here I am just copy pasting the code to save the time. So what I am doing here is, so I have created one small function here, that is login response from JSON, and we are passing here JSON data, and that is doing the form JSON and decoding that string and returning into that login response model. And we have one class here, that is login response model, and we have that we have mapped all these variable with our API, and we have that parameter. We have the variable of success, status code, then we have the message here, then we have the data here, and this is a constructor part. Then we are doing here form JSON, and we are mapping the JSON with our variables. Then we have a toJSON, then we have the data here, and data what we are doing here, we have the variables here, that is token, ID, email, nice name, first name, last name, display name, and here we are doing the mapping part and all, and here we are doing a toJSON, and here in the data we are checking here if the data dot length is more than 0, then we are just passing the data from JSON. That means we are getting the data and the login is successful. If in the case of not successful, then we are not getting any data here, and that's why we are checking on the basis of the length here. So now we have to add one package here, and the package name is http that will be used for that API request handling and all. So now we will create one folder here, and the name of the folder is services. And here we will create one file, that is API_service.dart file. And here we will create the class file, that is API services. And here we will create one variable, static variable, where client is equal to HTTP, and here we have to import package http/http.dart as HTTP, and here we will pass http.client. And then we have one more variable, that is static string API URL is equal to, and here we will pass the URL, and you can change the URL according to your website /news-app. Then we will create one function here, that is static future type of returning here bool login customer, and we have that two parameters. First one is a string type of username, string type of password. Then we are creating one variable here, that is map type of string request headers is equal to, and here we will pass the headers. First header we have to pass a content type, and we are using here application /x-www-form-URL encoded. Then we have one more variable, and we have where response is equal to await client, and we will make this function as a async here, client.post, and here we have to pass the URL API URL /wp-json JWT auth /version1 token. Then we have to pass here header and body, and here we are passing header, and we are passing a request headers. Then we have the body here, and we are passing here username, and we are mapping it with the username variable parameter. Then we have the password here, password. Then we are checking here if response.statuscode is equal to 200. Then we are getting here JSON string is equal to response.body, and login response model is equal to login response from JSON, and we are passing here JSON string, and here we are returning here response model dot status code is equal to 200. That means if we are getting a status code is equal to 200, that means user is valid with the valid credential, and we are passing it as it's true. That means a login is successful, else we are passing here false, and here we are passing here return false. So now we will modify our login page to integrate this API, and before doing that we have to create one more helper file to show the loader. When we do any HTTP request, we have to show the loader to the user. for the better user experience. Now here we will create a file, progress hud.dart. So I will put the link of this file in the description. You can download this file. I'm just doing the copy paste in this video, and you can download the file. So what we are doing in this file is we have created one widget here, and we are just checking here if this is a async call or not. If it is, we are showing the background with the opacity and all, and we are showing the loader in the center of the screen, and we are adding all this in the widget list, and we are doing all with the stack widget. So now we will modify our login page, and here we will create one variable, bool type of is API call process is equal to false. And here also we have to modify our code. Instead of passing that login UI setup directly, we have to cut this, and here we will use progress HOD, and here we will pass the child here, and the child we are passing here login UI setup. And then here we have the async call, and we are mapping it with the variable is API call process. Then we have the opacity here, and we are using a 0.3. Now we will go to our button click event, and from here we are just setting the state, this dot API call process equal to true. That means we are going to hit the API here, and we are just showing the loader here. And then we are calling the API here, API service dot login customer, and we are passing here underscore username underscore pwd. Then we are checking the response here. So once we get the response, we will change the state of this loader, and we will make it as a false here, and we will remove this loader. So for the testing, and we will just print this response. Now let's see in the UI also. So here if I put the invalid credential, so if I click here, now you can see here we are getting the false because we have added the invalid credential. So if I put the valid credential here, if I click on the login here, you can see here we are getting true here. That means login is successful. So now we will add one more helper in that form helper, that is for showing the message and all. And here we will create static void show message. Here we are passing build context, string title of the pop-up, and then we have the string message of the pop-up, and then we have the string button text, and then we have the function here on press. So here from here we are just showing the show dialog, and here we are passing context. We are mapping it with the context we are passing in that parameter. Then we have the builder here, and inside the builder we have to pass build context. Then from here we have to return alert dialog, and here we are passing title, and we are using here text visit title. And then we have the message content here, and we are using the text here, message. And then we have the actions here, and here we are using flag button, and here we have the on press event. We are returning here on press. And then we have the child here, and we are passing a new text, and we are passing here button text. So this function has been ready, so we will use this function in our login page. So here we will check if response true, else we will display this pop-up form helper dot show message. The title we are using here WordPress login, and the message we are showing here invalid username or password. Then we have the text here for the button, okay. And then we have to pass here the on press event, and here we will pass navigator dot off context dot pop. That means we have to close that pop-up on the OK button. So from here, if I put any invalid detail, if I click on the login, now we are getting here that show message here. So now if I click on the OK, that pop-up will be removed. Now we will create the home page, and on the successful login we will redirect user to the home page, and here we will create home underscore page dot file, and we will make it as a stateless visit home page. And from here we are returning a scaffold visit. We are passing your app bar. We have the app bar here, and the title we are passing here text visit WordPress login WordPress dashboard. Then we have the elevation here, and we are using a 0. Then we have the actions here to show the logout button, and we are using an icon button, and we are passing an icon here icon, and we are using here icons dot logout, and the color we are using here black color, colors dot black. Then we have the on press event, we will cover it later on. Then we have to give some spacing here after the icon, and we will put here size box, and we are passing a width 10. Then we have the background here, and we are using here colors dot gray color 200. Then we have the body here, and we are using a center visit. In the child we are passing a text dashboard. Now we have to add 2 routes in our main.dart file, and we will go to the main.dart file, and from here we will add routes string comma visit builder. Creating routing is very easy for navigating from one page to another. We have to define just the name of the page, and all the mapping will be here. And here we have the home, build context, and we are just passing here the page name home page. And then we have a slash login. Then here we will have build context new login page. So now we have to add a code in our button click of that login page, and from here we will pass the line of code global key dot current state dot reset, and from here we will reset our form current state, so that we are now on the successful login, and we are redirecting to user to the home page. And here we will have the navigator dot of context dot push replace name, and here we will pass the route name, that is /home. Now we will run the application. On the successful login, we will redirect to the home page. So from here I will enter the username password. If I click on the login, you can see here we are just redirecting to the login page, that dashboard page, because we are on the successful page. Now we have to implement a logout function also. So before doing that, we have to create one service class. So there we will just maintain our session data of the user, and on the basis of that data we are just redirecting user to the home page. So now we have to add one package here, that is shared preferences, to store the login token and all of the user. So now we will create one file here, that is shared service. Class shared service, and here we will create one function to check is the user logged in or not. Future type of boolean is logged in, and we will make it as async here. Inside that we have one variable preferences equal to await of shared preferences dot get instance. Then from here we will return preference dot get string, and here the key that will be login underscore detail is not of null, that means user is logged in, and we will make it as a true, else we will make it as a false. And we will create one more method that to set the login detail in our shared preferences. Future type of login response model and login details async, and then we have the final preference is equal to await type of await shared preferences dot get instance. From here we will return preference dot get string login underscore details is not of null. Then we will have login response model dot from JSON, and here we will pass JSON decode, because we have the string here and we have to convert it into a JSON, and that's why we have to use the JSON decode. Preference dot get string, and here we have to pass a key name login underscore detail, and else we are passing a null. This is for getting the login detail to use in our application. And here we will create one more method that is for set login details. Future void type of set login detail, and here we are passing the parameter here login response model, and we will make it as async here. And here we have the preference is equal to await shared preferences dot get instance. Then we will set the preference dot set string, and we are just storing that our login detail in our preferences, shared preferences. Here we have to pass the key name login underscore details, and then here we will check if the response model is not of null. Then we will pass here JSON encode, and here we will pass login response model toString, to JSON. Else we will pass here null. So now we will create one more method, that is static future. Return type is void here, and logout. So we will make the logout button here. Build context, async call. So now here we are just setting that set login detail as a null here, and we are returning user to the login page. Navigator of context dot push replace name, and here we have to pass /login. So now we have to modify our API service also. So to set our login details in our local shared preferences, and here we will check if response model dot status code is equal to 200. We will only store the that login detail if that user is successfully logged in. That's why we are checking here status code is 200. Then we are using here shared service dot set login details, and we are passing here response model. Now we have to modify our main.dart file also. So in case of login successful, if the user again come to the app, it will check that the user is logged in or not. So on the basis of that, user will be redirected to the page. So here we have the main.dart file, and here we will create one variable visit default home is equal to new of login page. By default it will be login page, and here we will make it as async here, and we will check here. You have to pass this line of code also, visit letter binding dot ensure initialize. Then we have that variable of bool type result is equal to await shared service, and we are checking here if the user is logged in or not. On the basis of that, we are redirecting the user. Default home is equal to new of home page, and here instead of passing the login page, we will pass this default page. And we will save it. So now last step is pending, that is logout button, and here we will go in the home page. In the on the on press event, we will pass shared service dot logout. So now run the application to see the functionality is working or not. So here we are getting the login screen. So now if I enter the username password here, snippetcoder, and here the password coder xyz 987, and then we are clicking on the login button. Now we are redirecting to the dashboard page. So from here, if I refresh the application to see it is staying in the dashboard or not. So now we are in the dashboard itself because the session has been maintained in the shared preferences. So now if I click on the logout button, we are redirected to the login page. So from here, if I click on the refresh button, we will stay in the login page only because that token has been deleted from the session. So that's all in this video. I hope you liked the video. So second part of this video will be uploading the images in the WordPress. So that video will be coming very soon. So I hope you like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, comment, share. I will come back soon with another awesome videos. Thank you all.